I am making unhealthy decisions for myself. Okay. And nobody can fix these problems, mama. Nobody can fix these problems but you. Hey, sweet mama. Welcome back to another episode of Mama Mindset. I'm your host and creator, Amy Cawthron. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't listened to episode 93, I really encourage you to pause this episode and go back and listen to that. It's the 4 foundational elements for living a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom. And what we're going to talk about today is element number 2. So, as a recap, those 4 elements are home, health, wealth, and love. And through the month of January, we're going through and I'm breaking those elements down, each of those elements down a little bit further and unpacking them in some realistic examples and some, very back to the basic resources and ways that we can hit all of these 4 elements and use these elements to really dissect. Am I living a fulfilled life? Am I feeling valuable and worthy in my role at home? So this is supposed to be a tool for you to reflect on what's going on in your life right now. If you are struggling, if you're finding yourself in a position where you're a little bit lost or feeling a lack of self-worth, you can always go back to these 4 foundational elements and dive into them to determine where you're missing something, where something is off, where you need to dive a little deeper and do some work to get yourself into a better place. So last Monday, I talked about the first element of home, and we really unpacked that using the 3 S's of home management. I thought that was a great episode. It's something that I use daily. And I even went back to, if you followed me in my Instagram stories, I even went back to and utilized myself in figuring out what was going on in my kitchen. And I know in that episode, I talked about my pantry space as a space of stress for me and a struggle area. And so it was way past due for me to go in and declutter that and restructure that space so it was a functional space within our house. And oh my goodness, you guys, it felt so good. So if you watched in my stories, I shared the good, the bad, and the beautiful. I shared how ugly it is, the before and after, the mess of it all. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, I highly encourage you to go do that, because I really use that space to try and be incredibly honest with you and vulnerable with you and just showing you glimpses of my life and my imperfections, because, we're all this work in process. We're a work in progress. We are all needing to change and improve in some way, whether that's big changes or little changes. So one of the things that we're going to work on today is unpacking that second element. But before I dive into the element of health, I have a little bit of an announcement to make. If you guys follow me, like I said, if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen that I posted that we have some big changes coming up within this community, and I'm so freaking excited. I'm so excited. And I'm just going to give you a little teaser right now, just to kind of give you a heads up on some of the changes that are going to be happening. It's all for the better. It's all good changes, but the name of the podcast and this community is going to change. I'm not going to announce it today because it is still in progress. We're still working on it, but it is going to come out in the beginning of February. And I have some plans, some big plans around that as well. But I just want to start giving you a little bit of a heads up that it is going to change. And I'll go into an entire episode of explaining why it's changing, how it's changing, and, the reason why I came up with a new name. But for now, I just want you to know that it is changing and I'm super excited about it. And I think that it's really going to encompass this message that I'm trying to get out there even better. And it's bittersweet. Mama Mindset is my baby, and it is going to be like that forever. It's going to be mama mindset through January, but in my heart and in my soul, it's going to be mama mindset forever. And the message, the podcast, and everything that I'm doing is still going to stay the same. I'm still going to have 2 episodes every week. I'm still going to be, that voice of tough love and reason for you. None of that is going to change, but it is going to get a little bit of a different look. And the name of it is going to change. So I want to give you a heads up on that. So keep your eyes open. I'm excited. I'm looking at it definitely as an opportunity instead of any kind of a setback. This is some growth that's going to be happening. Another little update also, if you follow me on Instagram or Facebook, we just hit 10,000 downloads. That is insane. And actually we hit it a couple of weeks ago. And I was super excited to share that with this community because that is big. That is monumental for mothers, for women, for stay-at-home moms, that there is this community and there is a need for all of us to come together in this like-minded group. Okay. I'm super excited. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has shared the podcast. Thank you to everybody who has supported this group, supported this community, and supported me along the way. I have absolutely loved all of this. I'm also we're getting very close to 100 episodes. So I'm going to do something big for that as well. So many incredible things that are happening, so many incredible changes and growth. And this is just the beginning. So if you've listened from day one, and I know there's a lot of you out there who have followed me along from the very beginning of this, I'm hoping you're as excited about this as I am, because it's just going to continue to grow and get better and improve. The more we grow, the more quality content I can bring you, the more expert guests on the podcast that I can bring you, the more resources for you to improve your life, to make the changes that you need to make. More of that stuff is what I can bring you as we continue to grow and just share in this abundance with all of these incredible women. So enough on the updates. I'm so excited to share all of that with you. And I'll continue to remind you about some of the changes that we have coming up. But today, I really want to unpack this idea of the second foundational element of health. And what I want to talk about within this episode are 3 separate elements within the element of health. 3 separate, I guess we would call them components. And that's mind, body, spirit. Okay. Mind, body, spirit is the holistic approach to overall health and wellness. And what I want to do within these today is just do a brief description of them, break them down, and then give you some examples of how to get back to the basics of working on each of these components within this element. So if you listen to episode 93, what I'm trying to do here is give you some tools and resources for you to make some shifts and some pivots and improvements in your life. So if you're going about your day and you can go through home, health, wealth, and love, and you can say, okay, my home is good. I feel pretty good on where we're at with our systems, with our spaces, with the amount of stuff that we have. But health, okay, health is an area that I am struggling with. And you can break that down even further and say, is it my mental health, my mind? Is it my physical health, my body? Or is it my spiritual health, my spirit, my soul? And we can use each of those to determine where we need to take steps forward if we're struggling. The other side of this is if you find yourself still in a pretty good place, my I don't want to say preaching, but my encouragement to all of you is to take simple steps on a daily basis to work on each of these 3 components in order to live a healthy and fulfilled life. And it doesn't have to be complex, you guys. Okay. So I don't want you to get overwhelmed because there's so much shit out there that you can buy and that people are trying to sell you to overcomplicate this. And they say it's getting, back to the basics, or they say that it's not overcomplicated, but it's typically only one component of your overall health that they're trying to sell you. They're trying to sell you a workout. They're trying to sell you a diet program. They're trying to sell you, like a book or something to do with spirituality or a group or something. And it really takes a little bit of effort in each of these three components, not just one, because you have to invest. And I'm going to use the word invest in each of these components on a daily or regular basis in order to fully utilize and build up the foundational element of health, which all goes into living a fulfilled life. And that, like I said, that starts to feel really overwhelming. Oh my gosh, Amy, I don't have enough time in the day to do all the things, like, going back to home. I don't have time in my days to declutter, reorganize, restructure, or move an entire room. But if you go back to that episode, what I'm really trying to encourage you to do is take 5-10 minutes out of your day to work on your home. Take 5-10 minutes out of your day, and working on your home could be as simple as getting the laundry done. You've worked on your home. Getting the dishes done. You've worked on your home. Maybe you take 10 minutes and you declutter a drawer. You've worked on your home. And as far as health goes, because that's the element that we want to talk about today, I'm not saying you have to invest money or exponentially large amounts of time into each of the three components within the element of health. Okay, so let's break it down a little bit, and we're going to talk about each of these three components. I'm going to try and use examples and some basic practices, and I've already talked about them on the show, but this is taking these basic practices and applying them as we go about our days and looking at the 4 foundational elements each day or each time we're struggling. So the first one that we're going to talk about is our mental health. We're going to work on our mind. Okay. We're going to work on our mind. We're going to talk about that. So according to the CDC website, which 95% of the time, I shouldn't throw statistics out, but we all know that the CDC website needs to be taken with a grain of salt these days, but we're not going to go there. I just want to reinforce the fact that I did look this up, and this isn't just coming from me. But the CDC website actually talks about your mental health as being emotional health, psychological health, as well as your social well-being. Okay. So what does that mean? Emotional, psychological, and social well-being? Because a lot of times people actually think that your emotional health is separate. And full transparency here, I was actually thinking about it as a separate component as well, but really it is totally and completely tied into your mental health. And that does make sense to me. So emotional health, psychological health, and your social well-being. Now, when I think about this, one of the first things that comes to mind, because I'm not going to unpack each and every single one of these, because each of these could be its own separate book, for goodness sakes. And there's tons of resources out there on all of this. But when I think about this, one of the biggest struggles that I feel like stay-at-home moms have is loneliness. So when we talk about our social well-being, and you're going through your days and you're determining, I am not okay. Something is off. Something is wrong. The first thing that I like to do is say, is my social cup getting full? Okay. Have I filled my social cup? Now, I know that this is hard to understand and fathom, but I'm pretty introverted and I'm a pretty big homebody, but I would consider myself a social introvert. So I do need moments of socialization outside of my home and outside of just my children, outside of just my husband. And I usually do that about once a week. Every Thursday, we have a group of moms that gets together, and it's an organic community that we've developed over a couple of years, and we gather at a local park. And that is a social component for me. that I schedule and look forward to every single week. Once a week, I know that that's that day. And when I skip those, my weeks really get off. And that cuts into my mental health, my social well-being. So, how do we battle that, right? How do we combat that? Well, I just gave you an example of scheduling something once a week. And it doesn't have to cost any money. It doesn't have to be going to coffee. It doesn't have to be, going swimming with the kids and doing play dates that cost money. I encourage you, and I've said this on the podcast in the past, to visit your local library. Go to a public space that's free and try and ask some questions of the librarian. Do you have any moms that gather here on a regular basis? Are you doing story time? I know it's really tough with COVID and everything going on with the pandemic, but a lot of these places are still doing things like that, and then just making sure that they have safety procedures and practices in place so you can still go. Okay. So there's groups that you can join. There's free organizations that you can join. But what it does take is a little bit of effort. It takes a little bit of work for you to take a step forward. Now, one thing that I do discourage is putting all of your social needs into the social media basket. Okay. Your social well-being should not come from social media alone. Now, we have a great Facebook group community for the podcast, the Mama Mindset Tribe. I really encourage you to hop on there, but that is not your sole source of socialization. It's just not. I don't encourage that. You need to get out and do some other things. Now, emotional and psychological health and wellness. We really can improve your psychological health by getting your socialization, your emotional health by getting that socialization, and by getting outside and going for a walk and being in the park and doing things in nature. Okay. Yet another free resource for you to improve your mental health. If you are suffering from postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, clinical anxiety, all of those emotional issues, emotional struggles, mental struggles, those things that you have, I am not a resource for that. And I am a huge proponent of you speaking to your doctor, talking to somebody that is a professional to get the help and the guidance that you need. Now, a lot of these issues can be taken care of at home on your own. I'm a big proponent of getting outside and going for walks, and I'm going to keep reiterating that in this podcast. And I feel like that fresh air, that vitamin D, that nature, and going to some of these library events and things like that can really help with some of these postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety issues. However, I'm also not at all naive to the fact that sometimes that's not enough. Okay. And if you are putting in the work, or if you are at an absolute place where you're feeling so overwhelmed and so lost and you're struggling so much, please, it is okay for you to go get some help. Okay. It is okay for you to talk to your doctor. It is okay for you to go get some professional clinical help. And I really encourage you to do that, because there are a lot of women out there that are struggling with some of these mental issues and these mental struggles, and they're not seeking guidance and they're not seeking help. They're not seeking professional help. And I am not that person for you. So please, I encourage you to go do that. But there are other things, other components that go into our overall health as well. So let's move on to the next one. We have our physical health. Okay. And this isn't just about dieting and weight loss and things like, these very like buzzword things. This is, again, a very holistic approach to living a fulfilled life. Now, what goes into our physical health? This is the body component. Okay. You have your various levels of physical activity, diet, nutrition, sleep, consumption of alcohol and drugs. Okay. You need to evaluate at what level you are utilizing each of these aspects of the component of physical health. Are you drinking too much? Big question. Big question you need to ask yourself, and you need to get really honest with yourself. Really honest. That is an area I feel like moms, especially stay-at-home moms, are really, really struggling with. And I've talked about it on the podcast, and I'll talk about it on here again because it's just part of my journey and part of my story. And I hope that it helps somebody. But alcohol is tough. Okay. Alcohol is tough, and it is an area that I struggled with. It is an area that Brad and I both struggle with together. Now, is it a problem? Are we alcoholics? No. However, there is a point where we know we're drinking too much and it's not healthy, and it's taking an effect on our overall health, including, okay, go back to the first component, our mental health. It's going back to our mental health as well. So it affects our physical health, and then it goes back into our mental health, and we feel like shit. You feel like garbage when you're drinking too much. It's literally poison that you're putting in your body. And I've been there. Okay. Brad and I aren't drinking for this entire year. I don't know if I've mentioned that on the podcast yet. I mentioned it in the Facebook group, on the Mama Mindset Tribe Facebook group. And it's not even a New Year's resolution. It's just non-negotiable. It's just what it is. We're not drinking for all of 2022. It's just not something we're going to do. And, we're half of a month in, and we feel amazing. We feel so much better. And I know that. We know that. And that's what I want to give you, is the tools to go back to when you do feel like you're off balance, when you do feel like something is wrong. Now, okay, is it my mental health? Is it my mind? Do I need to work on my mind? Is it my body? Am I drinking too much? Am I not moving enough? Am I not eating and consuming the right kinds of foods that have the right kinds of nutrients? Am I not getting enough sleep, which is causing this brain fog? So my physical health is affected, but then also my mental health is affected. So these are all things that you can go back to in your journey in motherhood. So alcohol and the abuse of alcohol, the overconsumption of alcohol, drugs, if that's an issue that you have going on in your life right now, please seek guidance. Please seek professional help, and don't be afraid to do so. Let's talk about a couple of the other aspects of your physical health, your body, the body component of health. Hey, sweet mama, I just wanted to remind you about an incredible opportunity to take these conversations one step further, to find like-minded women who want to dive deeper and pursue the things that they're interested in order to best raise our future generation. And that is with my Mama Mindset Tribe Facebook group. You can find the link in the show notes below. If you haven't already joined the group, I highly encourage you to do so. This is a free resource where you can ask questions, seek guidance, look for help, celebrate the wins of the mindset shifts that you've had, the 1% changes that you had in up-leveling your life, big things, little things, all of it. I want to celebrate all of it. I want to share all of it. We're going to ask some big questions and some participation opportunities. So if you haven't already done so, please head on over. The link is in the show notes below, and join the Mama Mindset Tribe on Facebook. I look forward to having you join our tribe. Physical activity. Okay. I don't want to overcomplicate this by any means at all. And I mention it a bunch on the podcast. Physical activity can be something as simple as a walk. Okay. A walk can be both simple and complex at the same time. It is the perfect time to bond with your children. It's the perfect time to get some self-care if you want to go on a walk by yourself. Okay. This also goes into your mental health when you get an opportunity to go on a walk by yourself. So it doesn't have to be something that is going to cost you $200 in a workout plan. You don't have to go out and spend $400 on a brand new treadmill, which, if that's what you want to do, to each their own. But girlfriend, we're all on single incomes here. A lot of us, most of us, you may have something going on the side, but most of my audience is single moms. And even if you're not a single mom or a single income, excuse me, you're probably on a budget because you have kids, and kids are really freaking expensive. So unless you've made it, you're making a bunch of money, we're all on budgets. We're all on budgets, and should be, even if you are comfortable in your finances, we should still be taking steps to make wise financial decisions. Okay. And we'll get into that in the other element of wealth at a later date on a later Monday episode. But today we're talking about, that physical activity. You don't have to go out and buy a new spin bike or a new treadmill or invest in these new workout programs. It could be something as simple as a walk. It could be something as simple as yoga in the morning on YouTube. It could be as simple as, some free weights in your room using YouTube videos. And if you do want to invest in something, you can utilize mini bands. Mini bands are great resistance training without all of the big equipment. Okay. There are so many options out there. There's so many body weight videos, and all of that's free. Okay. All of that is free. I'm not kidding you. I have utilized my tomato cans when I'm doing workouts before. I filled up gallon jugs of water, and I've used that when I've done some weightlifting because I didn't have like the right size. Some of my stuff was too big or too heavy, and some of it was too light. So I filled up some gallon jugs, and that was what I used to do some of my workouts. Get creative. All right. Put yourself out there and get creative and use your mind because you're brilliant. You're so smart. All right. I don't need you to buy into all of these very expensive things that people are wanting you to purchase. So let's go right into diet and nutrition. And I know they're two separate ideas, but I am going to lump them together for the sake of this podcast. So again, you don't need to spend a lot of money on a fad diet. In fact, I really encourage you not to. Look at what you're eating on a day-to-day basis. Is there a moment in your day that you can say, I'm not going to have the Cheetos. Instead, I'm going to have an apple and sugar-free peanut butter. Okay. Are there some choices that you can make in your day to improve even just a little bit? Can you drink more water? Can you get that gallon of water in? Because water, your body is made up of 80 or 85. Again, I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist, but 80 to 85% water is what your body is made out of. So if you're living on wine and coffee, girlfriend, you're going to feel like shit. Okay. And you're going to have these huge emotional crashes. You need to be putting water in your body, and more water will actually give you more energy and clear up that brain fog. Okay. The power of water is insane. And it's free. It comes right out of the faucet. You can get it right out of the faucet. Okay. Sleep is the next one that I want to talk about. And I know that this is a very sensitive subject for a lot of moms. There are moments in your life with newborns and young children. Sleep is out of your control to some extent. Okay. You're up, you're nursing your baby, you're feeding your baby, you're doing the things that you're supposed to do as a mom. Now, how do we make up sleep when we have newborns? There are choices that you can make. You sleep when the baby sleeps. It's so hard. Trust me, it is so hard. And I know that it's so hard. And it doesn't have to be all the time. You don't have to nap all day long, but maybe you get 20 minutes in, okay, once a day. Try and catch up on sleep when you can. If you have older children, again, I know that it's really hard. And I'm not going to go through all of the ways that you can try and get a little bit of sleep, but look at your current situation. Figure out if there's a way even that you could put a movie on for the kids or a show for some quiet time, and you can take a 20-minute power nap. It doesn't have to be 3 hours. You're never going to make up the sleep. Okay. It's impossible for adults to make up sleep, but you can sleep ahead. Okay. So you can sleep during the day, knowing that your baby is going to be up at night. You can't make up sleep. You can't catch up on sleep, but you can basically, you put sleep into your sleep bank. Okay. You can nap and it goes into a sleep bank. So how can you do that during the day? And if you don't have newborns, what is your sleep schedule look like if you have some older children? I have a 7, 5, almost 6. Olivia's almost 6, and 2.5-year-old. And they all sleep through the night. So if I'm tired during the day, that is usually my own fault unless the kids are sick. That means I'm staying up too late. That means I'm probably not drinking enough water during the day. That probably means I'm not putting good enough foods in my body. And that means that I'm I'm not getting a restful enough sleep because I'm either scrolling on my phone right before I go to bed, or I'm watching too much TV right before I go to bed, or I am making unhealthy decisions for myself. Okay. And nobody can fix these problems, mama. Nobody can fix these problems but you. And the point of all of this is to empower you, to educate you, and to help you make the decisions that you need to make to change and improve your life. So if you're going through this and saying, well, I'm just too tired, why are you tired? Okay, let's take an evaluation of the choices that you're making and make some small changes. You don't have to change it all at once. You don't have to tweak your entire life. You can take some small steps and add to those small steps and keep adding to those small steps over the course of some time. And now you've built this healthy lifestyle. So let's go into the last component of health, and that is spiritual health. Okay. So we've talked about your mind, we've talked about your body, so mental, physical, and now we're going to go into spiritual. Okay. I want to talk about your soul. Now, there are a couple of components of this component of spirituality and spirit and soul. And some of them are, I'm going to list three of them. You have living a purposeful life, the feeling that you are living a purposeful life. There is a religious component to this, and there is an individual component to this as well. So what I want to talk about is I'm going to go into and explain a little bit more about the spirit or the spiritual well-being, which is the full package, right, for this holistic approach. And I want to talk about your soul. Okay. And within this component are some other elements that we can dive a little bit deeper in, and you can take and unpack yourself and do some evaluation, some self-evaluation on if there's areas within here that you need to be improving. So, living a purposeful life is one aspect of it. There is a religious component, a religious aspect of this. There's an individualistic aspect to this, as well as a material world aspect. Now, let me explain what a material world aspect means. And that's a connection with others and nature. Okay. And this component, this aspect of your soul, of your spiritual health, is something that I talk about on the podcast as well. And one of the best things that you can do to connect with nature is by going out into nature. Okay. I love gardening. I love the nostalgic aspect of gardening. I love being able to grow things and get my hands in the dirt and grow things that feed my family, grow things that are beautiful that I can put on the table, fresh cut flowers, tomatoes to go in our salad. And I'm not a perfect gardener. I follow these amazing women on Instagram that are beautiful gardeners, and they have a green thumb and they have a knack for it. And boy, howdy do I try. Okay. I try, but I'm new to it. I've only been gardening for probably 4 years now. Well, 5, I guess maybe 5, on and off. And it's something that you have to learn. It's something that I'm learning to do, and I'm growing in a lot of ways. Now, gardening, the beautiful thing about gardening is it actually touches on all of these components that we're talking about that go into your overall health. What? You're saying one activity touches on all of these components, and it absolutely does. Okay. Mind, body, soul. This helps you grow your mind, your connection with others, because you're now once you're a gardener, you're part of this like gardening community. You can open up and talk to people about growing flowers or growing tomatoes or what they're doing this year, or when are they planting, or what are they growing, or how do you do this? Okay. It immediately builds you into a community of people, a community of gardeners. Okay. So mind, body. Oh, it's a physical activity. Trust me. I've been down in the garden with Lily strapped to my back and a baby carrier with a Pulaski digging a potato trench. And I'm the first one to tell you, I was asking myself, what the fuck am I doing out here potatoes are cheap in the store. This is dumb, but I kept doing it because I knew it was going to pay off in the end. I knew I was going to be so proud of myself for doing that. Lily was out there experiencing it with me. So then I'm building this resilience. I'm building this mental toughness. I'm getting my hands in the dirt and I'm touching the earth. I'm getting in touch with nature. I'm getting grounded. I'm feeling myself physically touching the soil, emotionally bonding with everything that's around me in nature. So a lot of you know that as far as spirituality goes with me, we are not a religious family. And I'm not going to go into all of the details of that because I am a firm believer of in that area to each their own. I respect whatever people believe in because I'm not going to tell you you shouldn't believe in that. But I also ask for respect in return in that we believe what we believe. And you're not going to change my mind on that. And I just ask that you respect our spirituality. So we don't consider ourselves religious, but we do consider ourselves spiritual. And whatever higher power you believe in, whether you want to call that God, whether you want to call that source power, like Jen Sincero says in all of her books, like You Are a Badass, she calls it source power, whether that is a higher power, whether that's Mother Nature. You know, we talk about Mother Nature a lot, the girls and I do. And we use that in our lives, but they also have family that believes in God. And, you know, and so we talk about that. We still talk about that in the house. One of the things that we love to do and helps us feel connected to each other, to this source power, to a higher power is we give a blessing every dinner. Okay. And that might be conflicting, that might be contradicting, and that might be confusing for people for me to say, we're not religious, yet we say a blessing. But there's a lot of people out there that do that. It's about the ritual of applying this spirituality to something that is meaningful, such as food and gathering and meal times. And we say a blessing. We almost always sit down at the table as a family, unless it's gymnastics nights. And a lot of times we just sit around the counter, but we're usually still together. And we sit around the table, we say our blessing, and the girls just know that's the expectation and they love it. And they're learning how to say a blessing before dinner. So whether you call it a blessing, whether you call that a prayer, whatever you want to call that, that could be a really great way for you to introduce a level or a component of spirituality into your life. And for us, this brings a level of gratitude. It really helps us pause and find our gratefulness for our abundance in our lives, because we have abundance. We have food, we have clothing, we have shelter, we have more food than we, usually need. We have more clothing than we usually need. We have a more shelter than we would typically need to survive. So that is abundance. Okay. Are there things that we could use more of sometimes? We think so, but do we really need those things? Okay. So these are just ways that you can connect further to your soul, to your spirituality. There's a lot of other things you can do. You can follow the moon cycles. There's a lot of other things that you can do to add some spirituality into your life. And what we do here, going back to the segment that I talked about, living a purposeful life and feeling like you're living a purposeful life within this component of spirituality and your spiritual health, is this a huge point of this podcast. Okay. I want you to find value and purpose within your role as a full-time mom, as a stay-at-home mom. And if you don't find value and you don't find worth within that role, then you're not going to be living a life filled with purpose. You're always going to be questioning, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? And I want to tell you, if this could help you in any way, if my words could help you in any way, that your role as a stay-at-home mom is literally the most important role in the entire world. The role that you're doing at home, raising your children and taking care of your home, is the most important thing you can do, because your kids are seeing that. Your children are seeing that. They're feeling the love that you're giving them, and they're going to take that. They're going to take all of these things that you're doing, all of these things that you're showing them, all of the love that you're giving them, and they're going to apply that in our communities. Okay. They're going to apply that in their lives. And then they're going to go and they're going to take that and they're going to apply that to their children's lives, and so on and so forth. And that is how we build better futures. That is how we build bigger, better communities. I shouldn't say bigger. That is how, and when I say bigger, really what I really meant was like in more abundance, not that we need more people, but that is how we build better communities. Okay. That, and holy cow, do we need more of that right now? Do we need more of that in our world and in our country right now? More than ever. Yes. So if I could leave you with anything, is that you are important. And this role that you've chosen, this role that you're in as a full-time mom, as a stay-at-home mom, is literally the most valuable role and the most purposeful role that you could ever have, that you could ever be in. And that role doesn't change. It shifts, it pivots, it grows. It's constantly evolving and it's constantly revolving, but it is so important. It is so fulfilling when you finally realize and you get your mindset shift, okay? Because this is the shift, the mindset shift in the fact that it is so valuable. That is when you start leading and living a purposeful life, okay? And that goes into, again, that goes into this spirituality. This goes into your soul. And once you find value and once you say and commit to knowing that you're very worthy and that you're very valuable, it comes back around. Okay. Then you start investing in your mind. You start investing in your body. You start investing in all of these other things. You start investing in your home by taking better care of your home, because you realize that by taking better care of your home, your children will see that and take care of their home. Okay. We are leading by example in all of the various aspects of our life. Okay. So again, mind, body, soul. The other ways that you can work on your mind and your soul, okay, we're tag team in this one here, is reading. Reading nonfiction personal development books. And these are huge mindsets, okay, mindset shifts. These really help you grasp onto various aspects in your life and then further deepen your thought process and then understand your worth. Now, I know a lot of you aren't readers. I know when I say to pick up 10 pages, I get, or pick up a book and read 10 pages. It's not your jam. I get that. I just really encourage you to do that. And if you're absolutely against picking up a book, please start with audiobooks. Okay. Start with an audiobook and get going in that aspect just by listening to it. Because if you're listening to this podcast, you can listen to audiobooks. And that is an area that will really, really help you kick off, or work on, apply this to two of the components of health. So again, please remember that you need to invest little things in each of these components to live a fulfilled life, to living a healthy lifestyle, and your children are watching you. Okay. They're watching how you talk about your body. They're watching how you treat your body. And going back to alcohol, if you think that they don't understand what you're doing when you drink a bottle of wine every night, you are fucking wrong. Okay. I'm just going to say it. There's some tough love for you. You are wrong. They know it. They see it. They understand it, and they do not like it. It changes you, even if you feel like it doesn't. It makes you grumpy, even if it makes you feel good in the moment. They know, they see these things. They see you and what you're eating. They see you and how you're moving. They see you and what you're watching. They see you and how you're behaving, what you're reading, what you're absorbing, what you're not doing. All of those things they're absorbing and taking in. So let's lead by example. Let's not overcomplicate this aspect. Let's not invest tons and tons of money into it. Let's get back to the basics together and do the things that we need to do to take care of ourselves, to take care of our mind, to take care of our bodies, and to take care of our soul. Okay. Let's do some simple practices. And if you're not sure where to start, please message me. I'd love to chat with you about this. I'd love to dive into this a little bit further with you if you're struggling. Also, feel free to reach out onto the Facebook group. We are opening these dialogues up for input. It's a safe space for people to ask questions, to get advice, to share their struggles, and see if somebody can help them. See if somebody has been in the same season of life that they're in. Okay. So we've already unpacked home. We worked on the 3 S's, and today we unpacked health. So mind, body, soul. We worked on a holistic approach, some practical tips that you can take away to do some evaluations and figure out where you're struggling. If health is if health is an area that you can improve in, let's do that. Okay. Do that today. You don't have to start on a Monday. You can start by making a healthy choice at dinner tonight. Okay. You can start by drinking an extra glass of water instead of drinking that glass of wine. You can start by cutting out the sugary Red Bull drinks and adding in a glass of water, sparkling water instead of Red Bull. Okay. Try doing something like that. So small steps to bettering yourself. If health is an area that you're struggling in, unpack it and determine, is this something to do with my mind, something to do with my body, or something to do with my soul? And if you can find time to add in a couple of the examples that I gave you of walking, getting outside and gardening, reading a book, those aspects, those activities touch on multiple components of your overall health. It touches on not just your mind, not just your body, and not just your soul. Some of those can touch all 3. One simple practice that can touch on all 3 components. And every single time you do that, you're taking one step further. You're growing 1%. You're investing in your overall health. You're investing in your overall wellness, which means you're also investing in your family. Okay, this all ties together. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I love talking about these things. I can't wait to talk about the 3rd component in a week from now. So the next Monday episode is going to be wealth. We're going to dive into wealth and figuring out how we can improve in that component if we're struggling, and as a quick reminder, if you're doing big projects within one of these elements, like I said on the previous episode in home, if you're investing big amounts of time or energy into one of these other elements, so say you're investing large amounts of time into your health, some of the other elements are going to suffer. I don't want to say suffer in a bad way, but they are going to dip. Okay. So this is a constant act of balancing. We never find true balance because we're always investing in one of these elements in some kind of a way, which is why I think it's so important for you to get back to the basics. Because, for example, in home, when I said, if you're going to dive into a pantry project of building new shelving or remodeling your kitchen because you think that is going to make you happy, it is going to cut into your health. It is going to cut into your wealth, and it may even cut into love because you're not going to be spending as much time together. So just keep in mind that this is knowledge that we have to better understand how to live a fulfilled life as a stay-at-home mom. And if you're feeling less than fulfilled, come back to these elements and do some evaluation. All right. So you can't put all of your eggs in one basket, for lack of a better phrase right now, without the other elements dipping a little bit. So with health, that is one that I really, really believe is an element that we can just invest little pockets of time in, little intentional activities to make sure that the 3 components in health, mind, body, soul, are getting worked on each day. Okay. Each day, I encourage you to do something within each of these 3 components. So let me know if you have any questions about this, sweet mama. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to talking to you all again very soon.